it's part 2 of Return of the Boyd. So, where we left you off at is Mrs. Bird spends money like a maniac. Yeah, and so, you know, $8,000 saved away. That is a significant amount of money. What does she go and spend it on? Camera bags.
Camera bags and tripods. We have more tripods now than we have working cameras.
Like double. Or triple.
Yeah.
I mean, it is ridiculous how many tripods we have. Like, we put some in the other room because we don't have enough room for them. And
It's like 3 tripods to 1 camera.
that thing is very, very sturdy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And, you know, we had been saving up for a new system. You know, Mr. Grove was like, we need a new, I can see the future, and this thing is gonna clunk out in a couple of years.
Mhm.
So what does Miss Bird do? She takes over the class, and she throws that $8,000 down the drain.
And her excuse here is, well, who else is going to spend that money? Because, I mean, people can kind of see that broadcasting probably isn't going to happen next year because, like, part of the way through the year, it's obvious she cannot teach the class to the people. So, I mean...
The fridge!
The fridge! Okay, isn't that, like, the second time for this episode?
I think so.
Okay. Well, so, it's obvious that this broadcasting isn't going to happen next year. And someone had said, hey, well, why are you spending this money? And she's like, well, who else is going to spend it? And, you know, thinking like that is the reason why this country sucks right now. Because, I mean, save money. Don't spend it on a useless item like extra tripods.
Camera
bags and other crap.
The funny thing about that is we already had tons of camera bags. Enough for each camera.
Mhm.
But she was like, they're dirty. We need to get new ones.
It's like...
And then after she bought the new bags, she was like, oh wait, we could have just washed the old bags.
Okay. So, at the beginning of the year, we did tell her that we wanted to letter in broadcasting. Now, as lame as that sounds, I mean, it's like lettering in band. I mean, come on. But we
No
wanted
one
that...
had done it in
Yeah.
a couple of years.
It's-
And, you know, if anyone was going to do it, it was going to be us.
Yeah,
And
so-
Steven.
We wanted to letter. I think there was one person that happened last year, but I mean, they worked their tail off for it. Because,
Shauna.
Yeah.
Shauna Huff.
So, yeah, props. So, we told her, hey, we want to letter, and so she hands us this list of how to letter. So, we're like, okay, well, the biggest thing on this list is the portable broadcast. I mean, you get the most points towards lettering from doing this.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
So-
you do like 6 and you've lettered.
Yeah, and we've been wanting to do portable broadcasting since last year.
Mm-hmm. Junior year,
I mean,
we spent like a quarter just preparing for a portable broadcast.
And
We had it down to like a science. We were like, we do this, we do this, we do this. It was a well-oiled machine that we had.
and it's a very complicated thing in comparison to the regular announcements because, I mean, it's portable, there's more cameras, and it's constant action. And it's not like you can
And you
say...
can't retake.
Yeah, it's just like, hey, basketball guys, you want to redo that? I want to have that on a camera 1, not a camera 3. You can't do that. And so we wanted to be the guys like the directors of ESPN. We wanted to be like, hey, camera 2 now. Hey, camera 3, make sure you get the crowd shot.
I gotta
Yeah.
do my impersonation of that. Camera 1. 3, 2, 1. Go to camera 2. That's what we wanted to do. We were so ready to be like the boss, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because we are boss.
Bosses. What's up?
Anyway, so we finally get her to agree to do a portable broadcast. We do a practice one. It went all right. And then the real deal came, and she took that part.
I was like, you're a teacher, and, I mean, you're not supposed to be taking learning away from the kids here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
I
like...
mean, she was kind of like, you guys don't know what you're doing. And I was like, you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, it's like, this is coming from the person who knows how much about what we're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
She claims to know audio extremely well, but we're not making CDs here. We're not making music here. So, but I don't see how that's relevant right now, but she said she knew that.
Anyway, so she took the fun part, and I was kind of annoyed about that because I had worked like tons of hours on this by myself. Well, not by myself, but alone. You know, I personally had spent a lot of time. And she took it! And she did, like, nothing for it.
Yeah.
So there was that.
I had my famous... We did end up arguing so much there that we did kick her out for a quarter of this basketball game. Yes.
And we got to do it, which was pretty cool.
It was fun. I did terrible, but...
Anyway, so as a result of the portable broadcast, a pin had been broken off inside the computer. And
it's like a cord from one... Like, you had to plug in with a cord from the TriCaster to the camera. And as we took it off, as we were moving the machine, we noticed a prong was missing. I actually noticed it because I was taking the cords out. And I was like, hey, there's a prong gone from here. I wonder if that was gone before or after. It might still be in the machine. And I was just, theorizing. I had no idea where it was. I was just kind of saying. And so I say that, and Mrs. Bird's like, I have an idea. And she sprints out of the classroom, and never seen a lady move so fast. So she comes back, and we'd all been like, oh, well, awesome. Bird's gone. Lock the door. Didn't happen. She got back in, and she has this magnet, and we're all like, what you got there? And she's like, oh, we're going to take this magnet, and it's going to get this prong out.
Keep in mind, this prong was made out of aluminum. Aluminum is not magnetic.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's strike one on the list of how bad of a situation this is. And so, everyone there is like, whoa, crazy lady, what are you doing here? And we're like, stop, no, bad idea, don't do this. And she works her way through the crowd, is like, no, this is gonna happen, because I'm the boss. So, I would say, I'm working on the TriCaster right now.
And anyone who has ever put a magnet to anything electronic, it usually doesn't end well for the electronic thing.
Yeah. So, and keep in mind, this is our last TriCaster. Something bad happens to this, announcements aren't happening for a long time. So she comes up to this, puts the magnet on there, and I'm working on the TriCaster right now, doing something for the next day's announcements. And she touches it to it, and instantly what I'm doing freezes. The entire thing stops working. I mean, mouse, keyboard, nothing. We've all seen a computer freeze before. And, I mean, if this computer is going to act like that, that's not a good idea. So we restart the computer, and ever since then the computer randomly freezes. And, of course, we're like, hey, Mrs. Bird, you just froze the computer. What do you have to say for yourself? She's like, it's not the magnet's fault. And she will defend it to the death to this day. That magnet did not cause the computer to freeze. She's like, it's too weak to do that. It's like, it's a magnet, and you touched it to the computer, and it's not a coincidence that the computer stopped working when the magnet touched. Not a coincidence.
Anyway, that was like the biggest fight that we had, was the magnet.
Second biggest. We'll get
to that.
We'll get to number one.
And so we had various fighting throughout the year. A lot of Boyd just trying to look out for everyone else.
I'm a good guy.
Yeah, good guy Boyd. And so we did the registration video for 2012-2013. And when you're making video, you have to render it sometimes. And rendering is making it to where you can see it without exporting it and all that good stuff.
It's like loading.
Yeah, it's like loading. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
video jargon.
Yeah.
Rendering equals loading.
And so we made this game called Render Ball whenever a video was loading. And we would toss it like over an air duct, and someone would grab it, and then someone would toss it back over the air duct, and we would catch it in a basket.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a really fun game.
Reboard.
Nothing was being hurt at all. She comes in and sees us playing it, and she's like, you guys are getting dust on the printer, alright? It is ruining the printer. This is a $38,000 printer. There was already dust on the printer from her not taking care of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the kind of thing, like, if you've ever seen, because she said, like, the Macs are going to break, too. And if you've ever seen an Apple product, there is no way to physically get inside of this machine. It's like an impenetrable fortress. I don't even know how to fix these things. But, you know...
Magic.
Yeah, it has to be, Apple. Congratulations, you are considered
You've done
magical.
the impossible.
So, yeah, dust really wasn't flying all over, because we've been playing the game for so long. But, like, there was no dust on top of this thing anymore. But so there was no dust flying around at the time, but she freaks out about it and takes the ball away. So now we are stuck doing nothing.
Yeah. Which is annoying because sometimes it could load for a half hour.
And especially with the registration video, which was like an hour-long thing. I mean, when you render that, that's like a 4-hour period. Or, I mean, I guess we could go get lunch, but I mean, there's a lot of times where like have to render like 30-second part takes like 15 minutes. It's like, what are you gonna go do? So we would play render ball. And well, the ball's gone, so we're like, what are we gonna do? And Mr. Nelson was there one day because it was after school Friday. And so the ball's taken away, we're rendering for like half hour, so we're like, Mr. Nelson, I wish we had something to do. We could show you our awesome game called Render Ball. He's like, oh, well, where is this ball? And we're like, oh, well, Mrs. Bird put it in her classroom. Like, she has a little office and that she, like, as she was putting it in there, closed it, locked it, and said, I am the only one in the entire school district that has a key to this office. No one else can get in here. And, of course, that doesn't really sound right to us because a teacher really shouldn't have a room that they are the only person allowed into.
So, what Mr. Nelson does is he's like, oh, okay. And, you know, we go back to work, and he goes over to the door, tries a key, doesn't work. Tries a second key, opens it right away.
Yeah.
And so he goes in, gets the ball, and he comes out, and he's like, you guys looking for this? And we're like,
instant love.
And, you know, it was kind of clear that Nelson didn't really like Bird either.
Who does?
And it was just so awesome because it was awesome.
Yeah, and so Nelson's like, well, this is probably the most common key in the district. So we're all like, well,
Yeah.
We start playing the game. It was all fun. Friday's over, and
we're like, Nelson, we better put the ball back. So he opens the door, and we put it back. And then Nelson is like, hey, you know what'd be funny? Is if we put these headphones on it. And
they put the headphones on the ball and stick it in the approximate location it was.
So, I come back the next day.
Saturday morning. Yes,
Saturday
we are
morning,
working for you on Saturday. Thank you. Thank you.
And so, it was Dan and I that showed up there first.
I'm always late.
And, we sit down, Bird goes in there, and Dan and I are just like, oh, crap, she's gonna find out. I was like, this is a bad idea from the beginning. But these guys were like, let's do it. And so, I hate you, Boyd. Anyway, so, whatever. Anyway, so, I'm like, Dan, if we say that Nelson did this, he will get fired.
And keep in mind,
we should just say that Boyd did it because Boyd is the scapegoat for everything.
She already hated me, and so they were like, hey, well, can't get much worse for him. And what I had been doing the entire year is I'd play mind tricks with her, because let's face it, she won't ever catch on to it. She never did. I would be, like, occasionally nice to her, and then, you know, argue with her about other things that we needed, when we needed arguments and that kind of thing. So she was still confused on whether or not to hate me. And in this situation, just kind of like, you went over
the edge.
Yeah, so, anyway, this happens, and so, I mean, keep in mind that Mrs. Bird had been telling us that she has ins with the big guns in the Meridian School District. And so, I mean, we had no way to say, no, you're full of crap, because we didn't know. She'd been in the district for a while. So we weren't sure if Nelson was, you know, subject to her getting kicked out. So, yeah.
So we were just like, you know what, let's just say Boyd did it. And so Nelson comes in before Boyd, I think.
No, I came in first.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, and Miss Bird took you into the other room and was lecturing you. And then Nelson came in, and I was like, Nelson, you said that Boyd put the headphones on the ball?
But Boyd opened the door and got in. Yeah. So what we said is, you
so
never locked the door.
Yeah.
She had no way to say that Nelson did it. I mean, would you suspect a teacher?
No. So, this looks like it's going to be a part 3-er.
I thought that was the original plan. Probably not.
Part 3. Go look it up. The Fridge.
Number 3.
The Fridge.
Man. Cut! Okay.
Just kidding. And cut.